Good afternoon and welcome to the Great Exhibition Road Festival. Well, after a wonderful weekend of talks, workshops and performances in multiple venues across our South Kensington home, we're continuing in the festival spirit online for the rest of this week with a programme of in-depth discussions and family fun from all of the partners of the festival, the museums, all the universities, all the colleges. So my name is James. I work in the public engagement team at Imperial College London. We're one of the festival partners. Throughout the Great Exhibition Road Festival, we get to meet a whole host of interesting, trailblazing individuals working across the sciences and the arts. And our regular Day in the Life talk series allows us to sort of lift the lid on some of those fascinating people. Find out a little bit more about their life and their career, what their actual job entails, and where their sort of passion for doing what they do, where that comes from. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by a real trailblazer in engineering in this country. Pallavi Malhotra was one of the first female telecommunication engineers in the UK. Despite barriers, challenges that came with working in what was a very male-dominated industry in Britain at the time, Pallavi spent 18 years at BT before moving into academia and now lecturing. Now, she heads up an international academy program for Huawei. They find new talent from a wide range of backgrounds that can help fill our digital skills gap that we face in this country. But yes, it's a global international problem. So yeah, Pallavi, thank you so much for joining us this lunchtime. We can't wait to hear more.
Great to be here, James. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So just before we get started, I wanted to remind all of you watching at home that this is an interactive event. So please do send us your questions and thoughts. My colleague Mimi, she's working away. She's in the background. She's on the YouTube chat, and she'll be passing any questions, any comments you have to me, and I can put them straight to Pallavi, and we can have a bit of a discussion here online. One little point, just ask everyone to be considerate of each other when you are posting. We want to create a really sort of welcoming, friendly atmosphere for this conversation. So we love a bit of passion and enthusiasm, but let's not disrupt the experience for other people. So if that's all understood, let's get started. Pallavi, let's start. I wonder if we could start at the beginning and find out, was technology always an interest for you growing up?
Yes, I guess it was. I've always been very technical from a young age. I used to take things apart, put them together again. Most of the time, they remain broken. Blew fuses in the house on many times. And but my parents were really encouraging, and they never really I didn't get a telling off. I was encouraged to learn and do better next time. So yes, I've always been interested. But when you say technology, I think when I was younger, it's probably at that time, technology as such, engineering or those types of subjects weren't really an option for girls at that time. It was more around if I wanted to go into sciences, maybe as a doctor. That was what I wanted to do. But then this fantastic opportunity came along, and then I had to make a choice. Do I go down the traditional route, or shall I take on this opportunity to go down the apprenticeship route? After the 1975 Sex Discrimination Act, BT in 1976 was one of the more sort of forward-thinking employers who encouraged careers offices to present opportunities like this to girls over the country. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and the careers office in Newham were very, very active and fantastic. So I had this opportunity and I took it, and I'm very glad I did.
Was this I think we've got an advert from, was this the part of that program that the BT was running?
Yes. So they started to, so actually this particular photograph here was after I joined BT. So the year that we joined in 1976, I believe at that time, now there are lots of different divisions within BT. So the one that I'd applied was for the international division. So we didn't have any end subscribers, but what we had, it was all transit traffic. So I worked on international routes, but between UK and other countries. So this here is a photograph of International Maintenance Centre. And at the time, this was during our training. So I think I was about 18 here. Oh, wow. And yeah, so BT wanted to create a brochure to try and encourage more girls to join, because there were 5 of us who had joined in that first year in 76. And they said, well, okay, well, we've got girls already, so why get female models in to do this. Why not use the real apprentices? So that's me in the front there, a slimmer, younger version. And just behind me is another female colleague of mine, Linda. Remember Linda Franklin? I don't know what her name is now, but we've lost contact. So we were posing for the brochure. Then this was the brochure. Yeah.
And you said that it was a careers officer. So did you go there sort of? Did you know you wanted to do engineering and were looking for advice of how to get into it, or did the careers officer, ask a few questions, find out taking apart plugs and things like that at home, and suggest that maybe engineering's the way forward for you? How did that sort of that come about?
No, absolutely not. Actually, James, it was the careers office was based in the local college at the time.
Okay.
And I was still at school when this opportunity came along. So they were doing careers talks for people who are still in school and deciding, well, what is the next step going to be for them? So I attended one of these career talks, and I don't think the careers officers themselves were actually fully aware of what the job entailed, because it was so new. This was the very first time. So they gave us this information, and they said, well, think about it. This is going into a male dominated field, but it gives you a chance to go into technology and engineering. So think about it. So I actually took the information home, discussed it with my parents, who are extremely supportive of it. And then I changed my view, and I decided not to go down the traditional route of going to university and doing the degree and then going into medicine. I thought, no, well, this is a great opportunity. So why don't I take it? I thought I'd try. And there were 45,000 applicants that year, James, for just the international division. And I remember that they took 45 apprentices within international that year. So there were 40 boys and 5 girls.
Right. Okay. So even at the outset, there was a sort of sense that going down this path, you were going to be in a minority as a young woman, of color, maybe even more so. Was that the case?
Yes. Well, just to go back one step, even at school, to get into jobs like these in the technology area, you have to have a good foundation of STEM subjects and be able to study STEM subjects. The school that I went to was a mixed secondary school. I actually missed 2 years, or almost 2 years of school, before I moved out of the, when during the 11 plus at the age of 9 and 10, due to home situation and looking after my parents, who were not very well at the time. So, I went to a secondary school. I had to catch up 2 years of learning. So it wasn't easy, but at the time it was a girls' school, and then it was mixed with together with one of the other secondary boys' schools. So they didn't allow girls to do science subjects in my school. So my father had to actually come to the school and have some strong words with the headmistress at the time to say, well, this is what we want. So anyway, after some discussions, it was agreed that they would open up the classes for me to join. But not just me, it was great for other girls, because a few other girls also joined chemistry and physics and biology and so on. So I guess it opened up the door for all of us, really, in a way.
Wow, yeah, what an amazing stance taken by your father, and hopefully others benefited from that, not just yourself.
Yeah, definitely. But if that hadn't happened, I don't think I would have been in a good position when I went for the interview with British Telecom, because it was a 3-day interview, and it was quite technical as well. You had to talk, explain Ohm's law. You were given various scenarios of different types of problems, and you had to discuss on how you could solve these issues. There were written tests. There was practical tests we had to take. They'd put faults on a phone. The old-fashioned phone, the dial, 10 pulses per second type phones. Do you remember the?
Yeah.
Dial, and they put faults on those, and we actually had to fix those as well. So it wasn't easy to get in. Not with 45,000 people. So very, very, very lucky indeed.
But you did get in. That's as you said, one of the few of a very well subscribed or very popular program, I guess. So you're working at BT now. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, where were you working? Where was BT based? What type of building was it? What type of environment was it? Walking through that front door each morning.
Sure. So it's a 3-year apprenticeship where we moved around a lot, and we got training. BT was a fantastic employer, and the training provided set you up for life, really. So we had to go out on customer premises. A lot of the times I didn't get allowed in because I didn't believe I was an engineer, or the male engineer I was learning on the job, because that's what the apprenticeships are about. And doing technical subjects at college. So we'd have block release of college, and the rest of the time we're either doing training within BT. So when we were living in in a radio station at Leafield radio station in Oxfordshire for 3 years on and off, doing various in-house training programs there. And we had to pass lots of internal courses as well as the technical courses at college. So the apprenticeship was 3 years, but I actually continued for 5 years. The first exchange that I worked on was a Strowger exchange, which was it's on the Faraday building. It's on the same foundation as St Paul's Cathedral, very close. So I didn't know anything. I was very young, naive. I didn't go anywhere. Obviously, because of the culture background I'm from. So when I had to start work, I remember my father actually took me to the tube station, said, "This is where you have to get on, this is where you get off, and this is where you have to walk to the building." And it was that naive, really. So one day I remember when the tubes weren't working, and I was like completely lost, trying to find another station. So we were really young, just thrown into the big wide world, really.
Well, I think we've got some pictures. Mimi, can you bring up the next set of images? Yeah, what are we looking at here? What year is this, do you reckon, or roughly? And what are we looking at? What are you doing in these pictures?
So 6, 7, 8, 9. This is probably in 79. So within BT, the way it works is that you start as an apprentice. After 3 years, if you pass everything, that all the exams that you're supposed to pass, then you become a technician 1A, technician 2B, then you become a technical officer, and then you go on to, and by the time I'd left, I was an assistant executive engineer. So after this particular photograph here is where I'm working, and that's my tool belt there. We used to have a massive big box, really heavy box. So it was too heavy to carry around for me anyway. So we had to tie a rope around it, and I had to drag it around the exchange floor. But this is the Strowger exchange, the very first exchange, for the very first type of equipment we had for communication. And then after this, I think I spent about probably 2 years here, and then I moved over to the computerized electromechanical exchanges. That was at Mondial House, and that was near Cannon Street, just behind Cannon Street.
Okay.
And it was a fantastic building. It was one of those new self-cleaning type buildings from the outside, almost cake shape. And when the boats used to go on the River Thames, they would always point out Mondial House. I think it's been taken down now, but there I worked on Ericsson equipment. And the sort of the actual the room, the control room was a little bit like, if you can imagine, the Star Trek control room, or the Star on the ship Captain Kirk managed. It was literally like that, with all the registers in big blocks, with lights, and we had to step through everything. We had the old tapes, where we actually had to feed in to put in the commands or the data into the system, and step through each through the registers, through each step of a instruction. So that's how it was in those days. And even like the equipment, just to hold 8 bits, you can imagine how much we hold on a small USB now. At that time, one relay would hold 1 bit, so it was heavy equipment. So just for like 256K, it was massive big rack, very tall rack. Whole exchange floor almost was just holding the data. So, but then very quickly it moved on, and within a few years, we moved on to the next version of the Ericsson exchanges, and we suddenly had a whole computer that it can, controlled the whole exchange in almost like a cabinet-sized box. With one size that ran the whole exchange, and there was a standby on the other side and took over if anything failed on one side. So that's how it was, and even the telephone, the operator switch rooms as well. The old corded ones where you pull out the cord and plug in. We had to actually literally mechanically physically change all of those cords. It was nothing like that. It was completely different. Everything, computers on each desk, and it was all within cabinets and changing cards, fixing components. So that's how it was.
You see, I guess in those early in these types of jobs, and you see these, you realize early computation was a very mechanical process, I guess, and it became digitized, and you get these very homogenous looking boxes that all kind of look quite similar, almost regardless of what industry you're in. But just before that time, and not that long ago, I guess it was the mechanic. It was very mechanical. The sort of the engineering behind sort of things like telecommunications. I think you can really see that in some of the things you're working on there.
Yes, definitely. I mean, what I'm maintaining there are 2 Strauger switches, 2 motion uniselector switches, and at those days, it were literally the switch was there. We had to do what we did mainly was adjust them and cleaning and lubing and tracing physical faults through the exchange. When the new exchanges came along, then it all computerized. I actually went off and did a computing degree after 5 years of doing telecommunications, because I wanted to understand the concept of language. Yeah, at that point, I'm thinking computer language. It just didn't really, I couldn't understand that concept. That's why I went off and did a computing degree afterwards. And BT actually sponsored the whole degree and all my further studies. In fact, I did quite a lot of a lot of studies, so they sponsored everything.
Brilliant. We had a question here from Bethan, which is around if you think there are enough women in engineering now, or does more need to be done to encourage more women into engineering? I wonder, we're going to come into sort of the current work the work you've been doing since BT to sort of, I guess, provide some of those pathways, but yeah, in a sort of snapshot way, could you sort of summarize your feelings on that topic?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Bethan. No, actually, I don't think there are enough women in engineering. At the time when I started, we thought we'd start the ball rolling and there'd be more and more women, but how many years? 45 years I've been in tech now. 45 years now, we're still talking about trying to get more girls into engineering. And I think where it really starts is with the parents and the encouragement from parents, not to say, oh, you can't do this because you're a girl, or you should go into particular types of occupations. Don't do that, to the girls. Encourage them, because women are just as capable as men in any type of job. And then afterwards, your mum's normally the first role model. Then when you move on to school, your teacher's the role model, and teachers should be encouraging. And if we had more female teachers teaching STEM subjects, it would encourage girls to join the STEM subjects and actually take on a STEM career in the future as well. So it really, creating that foundation really makes a big difference. But also, for any of my colleagues who are in the tech industry now, females, they should maybe, I know a lot of my colleagues are already doing this, but to mentor young women, because there's still that unsurety of, is it for me? What does it really entail? How is it going to be, in practical terms? So I think that encouragement's required all through the stages.
Brilliant.
I mean,
Okay.
I have women who I'm mentoring, and they're still asking me questions, and they've been in the industry for some years, but they're, everyone feels secure at some point in their life, and unsure of things. So I think if we all help each other, then we can have more women in engineering for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a sad indictment in a way that those same questions are being asked by young women to you who you're mentoring, I guess. But yeah, thank you very much for the question, Bethan. And it was interesting you talked, Pallavi, about sort of sort of inspiring figures, female figures taking up roles in sort of education and that type of thing. Because if we move to your post-BT career, I think we've got a slide here, Mimi, showing all the things that Pallavi's worked on. But if we talk about post-BT, you entered into the world of sort of education, further education, lecturing. Could you give us a bit of a whistle-stop tour of some of what you were doing in your post-BT years?
Sure, absolutely. So I guess people may be wondering, if you had such a fantastic career in BT, why did you leave it? Well, the reason I actually left BT is because I was having problems in my marriage, and I had a child. So I'd given up. I thought for some years, until my son was a certain age, and then I could go back. But unfortunately, during that time, my marriage broke off, so I became a single parent. So I had to find a type of job that it could, match with the school holidays with my son and so on, trying to struggle, and juggle everything on my own. So I applied at the local college, and I wasn't sure at that time. I was unsure, what shall I do now? Am I capable of doing anything, even with all the qualifications that I'd gained? So I applied at the college for a lecturing post, and I got it. So I was teaching network engineering in FE. So I spent 18 years there. I started as a lecturer. I went into project management, and then I was actually managing a small IT department where we ran specific projects in technology. So I was managing a team of engineers there, and a couple of them happened to be my ex-students as well. So that was pretty good. And then I moved on to becoming head of school, and then I went back to the computing school, where I started as a lecturer, and I was heading that school. So did a whole lot of different things there, but one of the things that I found, James, when I was teaching engineering, is that I had more girls joining the class. And there were more and more every year. I remember one of my male students one year, he enjoyed the course so much that he invited his daughter to join the course the year after. And she was really very talented. So she actually joined the college as a lecturer afterwards. This is a great way of also getting in female talent through this, or from the student group, to join and then teach the courses that they were on as well. So that's great. And a lot of my female students have done fantastically well. And sometimes you see things on LinkedIn from them, and they're heading up departments and senior engineers, which is fantastic. Really, really fantastic, and very satisfying for me, to think that, okay, it's made a difference. We got a few more women in, so that was really nice.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not just the inspiration to join the course, or the enjoyment, or feeling comfortable and feeling, but a sense of belonging, being on a course which is taught by a sort of a fellow woman. But learning from someone who has worked in the industry and sort of hearing those sort of stories, I'm sure you brought that into your teaching. So, having the confidence and ambition to go and take that qualification further and take that into a career, surely, you can definitely see why. You can see that pathway opening up to young women if you've got those sort of female role models at that sort of early education stage, definitely.
Yes. No, that's definitely, because I think if I hadn't had the practical experience that I had with BT, and the great foundation that BT helped me to build for myself in the knowledge base and the practical experience, I think it probably may have been a little bit difficult to apply that to teach this engineering program within FE, because you do have to have that practical knowledge behind you to be able to give the best that you can and pass on that knowledge to the students. And one of the things I found when I was as a female teacher is that in the first year I had no women in the class. It was all full of men. So we had adults in the evening, and maybe a little younger age group, 18 plus in the daytime. But it didn't matter which age group. There was always that question where you are a female teaching engineering to us who are men, why are you qualified to teach us? And so, there was always a little bit of explaining to do. Well, yes, I am qualified to stand in front of you and teach you. I have done this, this, and this. So there was always a little bit of proving to do. But then, as the time went on, they understood. So they became comfortable, and they thought, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. So then I was one of the guys, it was okay. But if we're talking about one of the guys, is a funny story, James. In BT, my nickname used to be Raju. And for somehow it turned from Raju to Raj to Roger. So I was actually called Roger in BT. I didn't mind. That's fine. Well, I was accepted as one of the boys, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's saying like, maybe there's a bonus bit of learning that some of the men on your courses learn in terms of maybe a bit more respect for fellow female engineers and in the work. I don't know whether they took that on board or not, but hopefully there's a it's not just the women in your class who might have sort of drawn some inspiration or from seeing a sort of a female engineer up the front teaching them, but maybe some of the young men maybe ask themselves, check their prejudices or look at their own biases in their views of what an engineer looked like. I guess I don't know. We had a really nice question from someone called, well, their username is Face Flips. They've asked, what would you say to an 8-year-old girl to inspire her? And I had a secondary question of what inspired you. So 8-year-old particularly, I don't know what sort of year that is in school, but coming up to starting to think about careers anyway at that point.
Okay, just to give an example of what I did for my son, I mean, if it'd been a girl, I would have done the same thing, is that I used to make sure that he was exposed to as much technology as possible. So if I was working on anything specific, I would get him involved. If I was meeting any scientists or doctors or specialists in particular areas, I would get him involved. And exposing even children even from that young age really it makes a difference because they can see what could be in the future, but also giving them gadgets to play with. I used to buy as many gadgets as I could for my son, all different types of learning tools, and he became more comfortable with it. So the more they do, the more comfortable they get, the less harder they find it when they go into school. And it becomes a lot more easier for them. So just expose them to everything. Watch the right type of technology programs. There are lots of sessions on various websites on small little clips, on what technology is about. In fact, if you want to just give your daughter some exposure to some of the courses, we've got some introductory courses. There's one really nice one, couple of animated ones I've seen, one in artificial intelligence and another one in 5G. I mean, 5G may be a little bit too much, but definitely the AI one. Please do have a look. I'll pass on the links to James and the museum will be able to share them with you.
Yeah, we can send it in the sort of post-event email. Face Flips' real name is Karen, I can reveal.
Karen. Hi, Karen. Thank you for your question.
And we had another question, from Caroline. As we move further and further into a digital world, how important do you think it is to educate the younger age group in digital engineering? That's a good question.
Yeah. Caroline, technology is the future. And 15% of the world's economy is in the digital sector, So it's really, really important. But it's not just learning digital. There's a whole different levels of digital, whether it's just digital literacy, where you're just, working to understand how applications work or learning how to use a computer even. But then there's other levels of digital technologies, and it's vast now, and the whole technology is moving at such a rapid pace that academia can't actually keep up with the technology. So the academy program that I run actually brings industry knowledge to teachers and students directly. Now, although the courses are more designed for 16 plus learners, I mentioned the introductory courses. To take advantage of them, we also run like master classes every Friday. Doesn't matter how young your daughter is, just get her involved. They just pick up little snippets of information and it excites them, and it sort of sends them on a journey to find out more information. So you gotta fuel that hunger. You have to, otherwise, if you don't, then after a certain age they can lose interest, peer pressure, magazines, what's shown on TV. So while they're young, really just encourage them as much as possible.
Brilliant.
Definitely.
Okay, we're going to bring the story up to date now with Pallavi's mentioned the academy. We're going to bring it up to date a little bit. So today, Pallavi Malhotra, you are director of the Huawei ICT Academy Programme, which aims to one of the aims it has, I guess, is to address the sort of global digital skills shortage, provide new ways for people to gain skills in areas as diverse as AI, 5G, Internet of Things, cloud technologies, big data, all that type of stuff, which all seems very relevant. Can you tell us a little bit about the particular approach the academy takes to this? How have you approached sort of addressing the skills shortage in those areas through at Huawei?
So we have a fantastic structure. So it caters the academy program. The traditional model is that we work with universities, colleges, and schools, and they become ICT academies, Huawei ICT academies, and then they get access to all of the learning materials and resources and simulation tools, free training for the teachers, so they don't have to go out and train themselves, free exam vouchers for the teachers, and even the students get free exam vouchers. And what I mean by free exam vouchers is that industry professionals, engineers, working engineers, have to do certain qualifications to be able to do their job and to show their employers that they're capable of doing a particular task or role or work in a particular technology. So these exams are fairly expensive. So the free exam vouchers that we offer can actually kickstart a young person's career, because then they don't have to spend after leaving academia, spend £2,500, £3,000 to do a course like this. The courses like the ones that we're presenting on the academy, and then on top of that they have to pay for an exam themselves. While they're in academia, they can do both, and they can gain much more. So when they leave school, college, university, they can have their academic qualification as well as industry certification, which is globally recognized by the digital and ICT sector. So it's really, really important to have these types of qualifications, because this is what degree programs vary around the world between universities. When you look at a industry certification, this is the same globally. So if we have a person doing, say, a HCIA certification, associate level certification in artificial intelligence in the UK, it's the same exam that they will sit anywhere else in the world. So this tells the employers exactly what knowledge that person has and what practical experience they would have gained by being on a program like this. So it's really, really useful to have that, and it does kickstart the career. So we have this structure. We run masterclasses every Friday. We have webinars to support learning. There are a number of academies around UK that offer the training in the classroom as well. So do have a look. But just to support it all, we don't just. It's all about inclusion, not excluding anybody from. So we want to make sure these courses are free, and they are completely free, open to everybody, give free exam vouchers, and then you have all of the other support structures. But we also have a global support community site as well. So anybody who's doing some learning by themselves, then they can actually join the group and they can post technical questions on the group, and they will get answers back from experts within Huawei as well. So you're not left alone to do this by yourself.
Do you get to, I wonder, through the academy, do you get to meet, I don't know, maybe virtually, I guess, by the nature of the academy, any sort of the young people coming through the program, or get to interact with them on an individual basis rather than just sort of en masse?
I do, James, definitely. Most of the time it's when I'm doing road shows, when I launch the competition. That's another thing I've got to mention. We have annual competitions, which I'm about to launch as well. This is completely free to enter as well. And we run this every year. It's run at national level. And because I look after 11 countries throughout Western Europe, we also have it at regional level. And students compete against the different students against in the other countries, and then the finalists go through to the global stage, and usually the winners win. Well, in UK last year we had 4 prizes that we won. First and second prize for innovation track, and second prize for the cloud and network track. So we have a lot of talent in the UK, and we've got some fantastic teachers in the UK as well. So, and this is a globally with 150,000 registrations worldwide, with 2,000 universities, colleges, and schools participating, and very prestigious universities all around the world. And I don't know how many students we how many instructors we have, but we won the 4 prizes, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
I wondered
Yeah.
that some of those you told me about some of those sort of UK prize winners. I think it gives an indication that yes, that they're using. I mentioned some of the areas of technology and sort of the digital world that you're looking to address with the academy in terms of skills gaps. But you do that certainly in some of the competitions through sort of quite real world problems that don't on the face of it sound as techie as things like Internet of Things and or that type of thing. Can you talk about a couple of the UK winners and what sort of their award-winning projects or their competition-winning projects?
Sure, definitely. And a lot of the winners I'm still in contact with, either on LinkedIn or WhatsApp, WeChat, everywhere. So, in fact, next week on this week on the 13th, on Wednesday, there's a World Skills Spotlight talk going on, and I've got 2 of the students, the last year's second place winners from Nescott College, who are going to be interviewed during that session as well. So if anybody wants to join the World Skills, please do register. I think registrations are still open. We're going to do a session on the latest technologies, the trends for 2030, what's coming in the future in the world of technology. Then there's going to be a little bit of a talk on the academy and what it offers, how you can join, and so on. And then we have also the students who are giving their version and experience of doing the Huawei courses, the competition, and then winning the prizes. So that they're also there. But yes, I do have that one-to-one contact still with them. And they do text me now and then, asking for recommendations or letters or so on. And I've also had students over the last 4 years doing work placement with me as well at the Reading campus. Only except during the COVID lockdown, we didn't.
Sure.
But last year we had 12 winners from UK. And the
Could you
other
talk a little bit, sorry, about the? I would because I thought it was interesting. I thought people watching will interest the greenhouse project. I thought was particularly interesting. You could tell us a little bit about that one.
Sure, absolutely. So the first 2 cloud and network practice tracks. So this is where they get very difficult scenarios and configurations to set up. For the innovation track, this is where students have to think for themselves. We say to them, think of a real world problem and then try and find a solution to solve that problem. So last year we won first and second place. So University of Reading won first place for the innovation track, and they had a cancer detecting type of device and programming that they had set up. So they get like a Raspberry Pi IoT type board, and then they put sensors on it. And this particular one took photographs of moles on the skin, and it would analyze the shape and size of the mole, and then it would automatically, if it felt like there was a problem, the report would go directly to the doctor. So this saved time, because if we went through the normal channels in the NHS, it would take quite some time, and if it's malignant, then it could be life-threatening. So it could save people's lives. The second project was from Middlesex University, where the students came up with an idea for a smart greenhouse. So they actually, on a 3D printer, they actually printed out a 3D transparent greenhouse. And they put sensors inside and some plants, and this would check the humidity, the moisture in the soil content, the temperature within the greenhouse. And if you separated out different plants and they needed different environments, it's easy to be able to set this up and let the system monitor everything and control, whether the plant needs feed or it doesn't or whatever, and it's done automatically. So you get a better quality of crop, and it's not just dependent on human beings going out there and checking physically. So this was great. And the year before, I remember there was a smart healthcare project that one of our teams had also set up as well, and they were also from Nescott. So yeah, some very, very interesting projects. Really, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, cloud storage might not have seemed the most, I don't know, as an outsider, maybe not seemed as the most exciting of the ones compared to, like, Internet of Things and 5G and some of that. But that shows you, there's real world projects you can get involved in by studying these types of these areas of technology. And I just think that's such a captivating, sort of engaging way of sort of challenging students or challenging people to sort of develop their skills or show their skills that they've learned in the course. And yeah, I thought those are great, those two little projects that you mentioned. I wanted to sort of, as we come towards the end, we've only got about sort of 5 minutes left, sort of bring it back to sort of encouraging more women into the tech sector. You talk. I wonder if you could talk a little bit. So the academy model and this sort of virtual learning, it might be interesting as someone who taught in a classroom-based environment or learned in a real world classroom-based environment. I wondered, you said to me before that there might be benefits to women entering the technology sector with aspirations to enter the technology sector who might have be a bit worried about entering what they think or what they believe is going to be to be a male-dominated area. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So, James, from my own experience, it's not always comfortable to be, say, the only female or one of very few females in a class full of all men. You sometimes feel very uncomfortable. Am I asking the right question? Do I sound stupid? Am I asking a very silly question? All these thoughts go through your head. And nowadays, you don't have to worry about that because there are lots of online resources available. So you have exposure to those. Please go on to the Huawei Academy website and have a look at all the free courses. Then you're not sitting next to anybody criticizing you or looking at you when you're asking a question. We have online masterclasses and webinars that you can join virtually. So there again, you're not in a traditional classroom environment. You don't have to feel uncomfortable. You can be putting questions on there. You don't even have to you can call yourself anything you want to. Nobody's going to know whether you're male or female, and you can post questions. You don't even have to ask a question anymore, so nobody even has to hear you. So, and we get all sorts of questions. So what I would say to young women is don't be scared. Don't be worried. You would not believe the type of questions we get from boys, So just get out there. You want to find out, you want an answer to something. I decided a long time ago, if I wanted to, I didn't care whether the question was silly or it wasn't, or how it sounded to anybody. I needed an answer to a particular, question, because without that I couldn't make the link to progress on, and I didn't want a little bit of a chain missing where I didn't understand, because I want to understand the full story. So I asked, I wasn't afraid. If anyone thought it was silly, that's okay, but at the end of the day I learned, myself, and I understood and I benefited from it. So don't be afraid. Ask whatever question you want to ask. And also I would say to young women is have a look on LinkedIn, look at some women networks. You can join those networks and you can get some, you can see what other female are doing in technology, and maybe go ask them, send them a message on LinkedIn and say, be my mentor. I've had lots of young women, contacting me on LinkedIn saying, will you mentor me? And yes, I'm very happy to. So do that. Don't be afraid at all.
Brilliant. We have a question here from Ellie, who's asking about sort of sustainability and how that sort of impacts the industry, whether young people are interested in getting into technology for the benefits that it can bring to, I guess, the environment and to green issues. Is that, I don't know if that agenda is impacting how people view the technology sector, or maybe even they're seeing as a way they can bring about change through technology or through which could benefit the environment or the planet.
Well, in my experience, I haven't actually come across anybody who's not taken up a career in technology because of any environmental issues or any impact to sustainability. What I would say is that technology is changing at a fast rate, and whereas before in older times, well, just about 5 years ago even, where you had a room full of computers, you had to have very power consuming cooling systems just to keep everything cool. Now there's new types of technology using different types of materials, and not only that, but there are devices that work at a very high temperature and very low temperature as well. So there are lots of technology that are very coming about and being developed that are green. So it will make a difference. I mean, look for example, in the old days, I do feel really old. We used to print everything out. Everything was on tape. We're using it with chopping down trees. Now you can just store everything digitally, and you can store so much data, even on a pinhead almost. If you look at nanotechnology, for example, you're using where at nanoscale you're storing so much data that you don't even need large amounts of space, or you don't have to use large amounts of resources in terms of metals or any natural resources to actually create that equipment. I know we have more of a throwaway type of society nowadays, but there's a lot of recycling also going on of components. So technology is becoming very green and very sustainable. So
okay. Well,
yeah.
there's definitely opportunity there for anyone thinking
Lots
going
of
into the technology space to either, I guess, bring about change and bring about a green revolution, or either outside of the technology industry using technology, or maybe even within the technology industry itself with the new approaches. So yeah, that definitely opportunity and opportunities there. We're coming towards the end now, so I had one final question before I round up, which is, I wonder if Pallavi, you can put yourself back in that young woman in the sort of mid to late 70s, or maybe even leaving college or thinking of her career. How do you think she would have reacted to something like the Huawei Academy? Is that sort of thing that she would have benefited from having as a sort of route into the industry? Would it fitted your life back then? What are your thoughts on that?
James, I had this question on Saturday, and I said I would give my left arm to join a program like this, because in my days we didn't even have computers, we didn't have the internet. Nowadays you can find out so much information just googling. We didn't have anything at that time, and if I had an opportunity like this to be able to do a whole range of courses for free and have companies that support to kickstart my career in providing vouchers to give me industry recognized certification, globally recognized certifications that could help me get into the industry, that I would definitely take it up. But also, if you're not sure, then there are lots of taster courses. Join some of the master classes that we have, because that will give you a taster into particular technology and help you to decide, well, is this something that I want to go into? And if it's something that you think, oh yeah, it's of interest, then you can go forward after the introductory taster courses. You can then do a certification course, and then that will help you to build on that knowledge as well. So take advantage. It's there for us. It's free. And Huawei's invested huge amounts into education over the next, I don't know how many years. So we're putting up we're creating a whole series of different types of initiatives around talent development. It's all about spreading digital knowledge. So if this is being offered to you, please do take it up. And if you have any questions, please connect with me on LinkedIn, and I can and send me the questions, or do it through James, and I'll be very happy to give all the necessary information to you to join as well.
Brilliant. Okay, well, unfortunately, I think that's a quite nice place, I think, to bring an end to this lunchtime discussion. Thank you so much, Pallavi, for joining us. It's been wonderful to talk to you, to sort of take you back all those years and then bring it right up to date. And even you're still looking to the future, you're still looking at the next generation. So yeah, it's really, really inspirational story. For those who've been watching live on YouTube, apologies if I didn't get to any of the questions or comments. I'm sorry about that. A recording of the discussion will soon appear on the Great Exhibition Road Festival YouTube channel, so you can watch it again, or if you can share it with friends or colleagues or whoever you want, really. As I said at the start, we've got a week's worth of online events. They'll all be taking place on this channel. We've got stuff for families, family workshops, family quizzes. We've got on sort of more adult, I guess, friendly in deep dives into topics like extreme weather and that type of thing. So yeah, please do. You can still sign up for a lot of those on the Great Exhibition Road Festival website, or you can follow this YouTube channel and you'll get sent links when they go live. We also have in the chat, we're going to post a link to an evaluation form. So yeah, please do take 5 minutes or so just to fill that in. We'd really appreciate your feedback. And I think there's a prize for £50 or so for one of the evaluation filler-inner people. So please, yeah, there's an incentive there as well as it benefiting us. So please do take the time to fill that in. Otherwise, I think that's about it from me. Thanks so much again, one final time, Pallavi, for joining us, and to everyone else who's watching, have a wonderful Monday afternoon, and yeah, hopefully you'll join us for a future Great Exhibition Road Festival event very soon. Thank you, guys.
Great. Thank you very much, James. Thank you. And could I just say one last thing, that I'm 63 and I'm still learning. So it doesn't matter what age you are, it's never too late.
Brilliant. What a lovely message to end on. Thank you so much, Pallavi, and yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.